Welcome back to the sweatshop. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2008 Volkswagen Golf City. What we're doing in today's video is we are trying to remedy a coolant leak. Now, the Volkswagen, if you are familiar with them, have a number of these stupid plastic parts. In fact, many of the auto manufacturers have gone to these stupid things, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Most Japanese manufacturers still don't use this sort of stuff, which is very nice. A lot of European manufacturers started using them very early on in the 2000s, which these things, they're plastic, and plastic breaks down over time. I guess no one cared because usually by the time they break down, it's after warranty and the customer's stuck with the bill. So if you have a European car or a Volkswagen, it is imperative, especially if you're about to purchase one, that you look at these stupid little plastic connectors to make sure they're not the wrong color. If the color is changing throughout the part, that usually indicates that you have a potential leak coming. Whatever you do, do not touch them. They will break. These things, you could touch them with minimal pressure, it will fall apart in your hand, and if it's hot, it will spill fluid all over your face. If you're watching this video, Ben, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A Mazda had done the same thing to me. Well, a Ford European design Mazda. Stupid Mazda 6. Anyhow, those are bad memories we don't want to talk about. Moving on, whenever tackling any of these issues, especially with the Volkswagen, if there are multiple parts in the same region, it is best to replace them. For instance, this guy here has a tube that connects to this guy. That one's leaking. We're going to be replacing this one, obviously. So we're going to replace this one as well. This is the culprit that started the whole issue to begin with. It is a common problem on many Volkswagen Audi products. On the back of the head, you have what is called the coolant flange. This ugly thing here, it's held in by two bolts. On a 2-liter setup like this, it's relatively easy to get to. On an Audi, you want to jump off a cliff because it's in a horrible place and really not accessible. Of course, not the end of the world, but with the Audi you will need some special sockets to get to it. Not anything special in terms of the key. It's just, they're all the same. I think it's a 5 or 6 mil hex, but the length of a standard socket is not going to help you or be your friend. Of course, if you are going to do it on an Audi configuration or really any car, you want to make sure the car is nice and cold because coolant is not your friend and it will scold you if it's nice and hot. That being said, we got the coolant flange out of the way. This is called a distribution pipe, and this one here is your heater core hose with a quick connector. Like I say, there are many different plastic products on these types of cars. Make sure you're extra gentle when touching them if you are not replacing them. Give yourself some extra time. Make sure you start this job nice and early in the morning in case you need to order parts. Of course, as I'm telling you that, it is currently almost 5 o'clock, and yeah, there's no one to save me in case I need parts. So don't do what I'm doing, in short. Regardless, you don't really need to get underneath the car as long as your arms are small enough to get into the front section of the radiator so you can pop open the drain plug. Of course, if you do have a way of lifting the car, it is advised because it just makes life easier. Of course, make yourself a nice flat drain pan if your Volkswagen is lowered, or of course most of them are that are Jettas and Golfs and whatnot, such as this one. Luckily, I have it on my hoist. Of course, if you are going to crawl around underneath your car, employ the use of a jack stand. With all that blah 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 out of the way, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. All right, so what we're looking at here is our distribution pipe. Doesn't look horrible, but I'm going to be changing it and putting in fresh coolant. This guy here is the flange on the back of the head. On an Audi, when the engine is mounted in this direction, it is a pain in the ass because that guy is usually about a half of an inch away from your firewall, and you got to have nice small fingers to get in there to get the two bolts off that hold it. The connector it's not the worst of things, but it's just tough to get your hands in there with all the rest of the shit that's on the back of the engine. Basically, it's the same sort of flange that's on the 2-liter turbo. Then you have any of these sort of connections on the system. Those ones are really prone to just taking a shit because it's a stupid design. And you know, it's a stupid design when they sell aftermarket performance stuff that are metal, because that's what they should have came with from the factory. But you know, Volkswagen said a 2-cent part versus $2 part. Anyhow, really hard for me to get a shot of the flange. I'm going to try and get something closer so that you can see what the leak sort of looks like. What we are looking at is, of course, the flange on the back of the head. Now, this guy here can leak sometimes. This is your temperature slash fan switch. I'm pretty sure it does the fan switch. Anyhow, it is the coolant temperature sensor. There is one bolt there, and there is the other bolt. What's important to look at on this flange is that you can see here the color from here is different from there. What the color difference is and why it is significant for you to understand the difference is that this tells you that there is coolant slowly making its way into your flange, not into the flange inside, but through your flange to the outside. Here is a small leak right here. That calcified coolant, or that pink stuff that is basically a crust that develops, is your coolant being boiled off slowly through the flange. Why this is important is it tells you that your flange, besides being crap, is about to leak, and that your coolant is in really poor condition. The acidity level in coolant tends to build up quite a bit, and when it does, you end up with this sort of issue that tissue will just not solve. The only real solution to this is to replace the flange or the bad part. Of course, this guy's also connected to a bunch of other stuff, and you want to take a look at all the plastic components on your system to make sure you are changing them at the same time. That way you're not replacing one this week and one the next week and pouring ridiculous amounts of coolant down the drain. There is the connection to our heater core. This one here obviously has a quick connect as well, but this one here has one of these little nipple things. If I push this thing with any real force, it will break. It doesn't take much of anything to break those things. So if you see anything like that with calcified coolant making its way out of your connection, just get rid of it, garbage it, and get a new piece. Now, that being said, it is now time for us to put this thing up in the air, and I'll show you what the telltale signs are and where the leaks usually end up. All right, what we're looking at here is the back of our transmission towards the firewall, right where our subframe is. Of course, you can see this red stuff does not belong there. That is our coolant dripping from that flange. This is the calcified coolant right here that I'm talking about. Essentially, it is just coolant that's really hot and burns off, and you get that coolant ash. I'm not sure if calcification or calcified is the correct term, but that's the best way I would describe it, because, well, I'm tired, I'm hungry, and that's pretty much the only word that sounds like it makes sense in my head. All we need to do now, with the car up in the air or with you crawling underneath the car, is move our attention to the bottom rad hose. Why? Because we're going to drain the coolant out, because we're not animals and we don't want the rest of the coolant to fall all over the transmission and then have to wash it off, which a lot of mechanics don't do. They just let it burn off, but that's a story for another day. Get a nice big drain pan, because coolant likes to splatter. What you're going to do is slowly twist this guy here, counterclockwise, of course. When it feels like it's about to break off in your hand because it's nice and tight, you're just going to twist it back and forth, loosen it up, and of course, as you twist, you're going to pull away from the car. There we go. With your drain plug open, simply open the cap to your overflow reservoir and you will hear your coolant start to pee out. That was a really good example of what I meant. Now just let that happen for quite a while. You don't necessarily need to drain all the coolant out of the system, but of course, it is best to drain out as much as you can and replenish the system with some clean coolant. Now, as your cooling system is draining, you don't need to sit around and wait. Once it drains out for a good minute, most times these hoses are nice and empty, so you can go ahead and start taking things apart. Your best friends are going to be this kind of tool here. Makes life so much easier, especially on the Volkswagen, and this guy here, a needle nose vice grip. Very important that you get those two tools to complete this job. Of course, what you want to do is just separate systems. Whatever you don't need to touch or take off the vehicle, you do not want to touch. Of course, if you need to touch something, be very gentle. There is also a T fitting with like 4 connectors here. I did not see that, otherwise I would have replaced it. Nonetheless, if you got yours, go ahead and replace it. If you did not, well, be very, very gentle, because if you don't do it gently, you're gonna end up with some tears in your eyes. I'll just shake this guy loose. Once you get the clamp loose, you're going to leave it locked and then try to twist the hose free. Luckily, that's one of the nice things with this stupid design. The hoses tend to break free a little bit easier than what I find on pipes that are metal on rubber. I don't know why that is, and really, I don't care to find out anymore. I'm at that point in my life where I just don't want to do it anymore, you know? Pull that guy off if it's a pain in the ass, and then slip the clamp back over. Remember, if this clamp slips, it will hurt or break your fingers, so be very careful. There's a lot of stored energy in this stupid clamp. Now, we don't need to touch this guy here, but there is this little bastard here on the bottom that we do need to touch. Same process. The other side is connected to metal, so don't be too concerned about handling it with a little bit of needed aggression potentially sometimes. It's one of them things. All right. Now, we got one part disconnected. What we'll do is we'll disconnect this on the bench and we'll mark it, try to set it up as close as possible so when we get it back into the car, we don't have any issues that tissues won't solve, man. Now, with this guy here, you do not need to touch it or remove it, but I am going to, just so that you at home can see more easily what the hell I am doing. God damn, it was rather violent. Just makes it a little bit easier for your viewing pleasure. We have a little connection hose down here that we'd like to move. We also have this guy here to deal with. And we also have the heater core hose, which we do not need to touch currently because it is connected. So on the flange, if you're replacing everything that I am doing, you only need to touch the electrical connector there and that guy there. That is it. The rest of it will come off with your heater core hose and, well, some more crap. And obviously after we take off the 2 Allen keys, what you're going to need for that is a nice pocket-sized flat screwdriver. You're going to get your screwdriver. You're going to very gently raise up on the back of the tab. This is a very gentle thing to do. It makes it a little bit easier if you push the connector down, and then once you hear that pop, you can pull it up. I don't know, for whatever reason, oftentimes a lot of people just ravage those connectors and they kick the crap out of them. You don't need to do that. It is relatively easy to get to. And we're focused again. Good stuff, Jimmy. There's a lot of holes on this engine. Too many holes. That's that compressor. So I'm going to readjust the camera so you can see what the hell I'm doing. Well, I can't wait, so I'm just going to pull this guy out here. You got to be very careful with this because it is plastico. And as I've just explained, plastic likes to break for everything. We did get this as a replacement part, but they sent us the wrong one, which, well, very, very annoying, but mistakes do happen. And the fellow that I spoke to was a very nice fellow. So, you know, it wasn't even their mistake. I actually talked to my regular parts guy and he cleared it up and said, well, our catalog is stupid. And it's not necessarily the catalog. In general, VW is just stupid. Now, I don't have a replacement part or a replacement O-ring. This is what you call an oversized O-ring. So we are going to be reusing this and putting in some wonderful silicone to ensure that we don't have any leaks. We're also going to be cleaning up the sensor to ensure that it works properly. This is generally why we want to replace it, because it's ugly and the sensors can leak from the backside. If it's not leaking, you don't need to replace it, but of course you don't want to open up your cooling system again. These parts here aren't expensive. I think this guy here is like 40 bucks or something like that. So it ain't uber expensive, but yeah, if you can get your hands on the right one, unfortunately I can't replace it. That's my recommendations. You can see there, I've just moved that stupid breather tube. You don't need to, like I say. It's just for our filming purposes is why we're replacing or removing it. Oh my god, this clamp seems to be made out of unobtainium because it's fucking stupidly tight. Just a weird angle to get it at. There usually will be some coolant that comes out of this guy. Don't stress. Yeah, see? It's just pissing all over the transmission now. Stop pissing all over the tranny! Fuck. Get your ass out of there, bitch. Now we're gonna have to, well, hose that shit off and sell it as Kool-Aid or something. I don't know. No, don't do that. It's just a joke, okay? Do not lick taste or put any of that coolant in your mouth. It'll kill you. It literally will. No joke. Anyhow, some people are stupid. You never know. I gotta give warnings. And just a disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. Get yourself a hex and you can pull that flange off the back of the head. Don't touch any of these other guys here. Be very careful with this guy up here, and we'll take care of the heater core holes in just a bit. We'll pull this flange off altogether right now because, well, I don't want to reposition this goddamn camera again. With the correct socket in hand, the 5mm, you're going to make sure you sneak it all the way in. That is key to success. I have never personally rounded one of these things off, but I imagine that there is somebody out there who has done that, and that usually happens just because you don't get it all the way in. And if you don't get it all the way in, well, no one's happy with that. Wind that guy out all the way. Okay, yeah. What happens is you get a little bit of rust that can build up in the head of the bolt, so when I get it all the way in there, it's a nice thing about VW or the German car companies. They actually make decent fasteners. They don't rot to hell. But everything that they fasten usually sucks, so, you know, there's yin and yang, I guess. You win some, you lose a lot. Oh, I didn't want that to happen. I wanted just my ratchet to come off. That guy back in there. Oh my god. Motherfucker's tight. Why do we buy ratchets like this? For moments like this. Make sure this guy is separated. The only thing that should be connected to it is that pain in the ass heater core hose. We're also going to need to clean up the back of the head. Luckily, on this guy here, it's relatively accessible. In comparison to the Audi, it's a cakewalk. Okay, what we need to do is disconnect two connections if you're doing the same thing that I am doing. If you are doing just the one piece, obviously you need to disconnect all three. You will need a pick or flat screwdriver and your needle nose vice grips. I just realized that the camera is in the way. Let's try a fucking way to get this mother sucker here. There we go. Yeah, well, we'll try our best not to jangle the camera too much. Come on, baby, come on, don't worry, just cooperate. Oh, you fucking bitch. Oi! Just pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, don't leave it in. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, there's a perfect example of what I was talking about. I barely put much pressure on it, and our piece is now broken off inside there. So that'll be a nice how to get that bullshit out. And yeah, let's leave that off in the distance there. That gives you a lot of extra work for no goddamn reason unless you watch the part of the video where I get that bullshit out, because, well, that's a fucking nightmare sometimes. Now what you gotta do is get your flat screwdriver, come around to the side, and you will notice on your new part there is a pin. It is a quick release pin, which is very nice because the connectors that are on your heater core, well, they don't like all kinds of persuasion by way of force, and a lot of times in the past you would have to, when dealing with the clamp, give it a lot of force, that is, which never really works to anybody's advantage. You know, if someone wants something, you gotta just be nice about it. If it's not gonna be nice, no one's happy. So goddamn it, fucking move that shit down, and you want to slowly wiggle it. I think I got the other side down. I can't tell. Let's try that mother again. Okay, well, when you get the pin down with your vice grip or with your flat screwdriver, you can try to get the other side down with your vice grip. Let's try that right now. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, it's not a hard job per se, but it's very annoying. Okay, there we go. Now it's all the way down. I gotta fix this garbage. And then you gotta just wiggle it out. Now, you want to be very gentle with this because heater core hoses or coolant connections on any sort of European car are not your friends. They're little pricks that are looking to ruin your life, because all they do is just break and leak all over the friggin' place. And this mother right here is going to be that, because he does not want to come out. Well, let's try some more. We'll hope for the best here. You motherfucker! I want to put as little amount of pressure as I can on this fucking hose. There we go. Fucking pile of garbage. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this whole stupid contraption out, and then I will show you how to get this hose thingamabobber out. Okay, let's pull this garbage out. Get the fuck. Don't you? Okay. Now, here is a trick that I usually do. There is two things. Depending upon how brittle this bullshit is, you may need to just break it up with a vice grip. If you're going to do that, you want to hold the holes downward so that gravity takes effect and gets rid of all the clumps of crap. You don't want that shit floating around in your system. This guy seems to be still a little bit solid. So what we're gonna do is take a screw like so. You're gonna thread this guy in. Leave the clamp in place, okay? You want a coarse thread because that's usually the best bet. Sorry that the camera is jiggling around. We got no choice but to let her jiggle because one of the legs of the miniature tripod is on my wonderful air duct, which I am constantly touching. Fuck my vice grip at. Pass that vice grip after? Yama. Thank you to my lovely assistant, Godfrey, who has been waiting very patiently for me to fix his Volkswagen. Okay, now you get your clamp on there. You can move the clamp out of the way. Essentially, you don't want it to get humbugged on anything. Now what we're going to do is get a clip remover or even the wrench itself if we can fit it in there and just try to yank that guy out. Well, let's see. Let's see. Mother of God. And there you go. You can also see how brittle and disgusting this stuff is. This here, if you don't replace it, is a sure way to end up with another leak down the road. Okay, let's go over to the bench and deal with this stuff. Obviously, you can see we got our stuff apart off the screw there. I just want to drive home the point here as to how corroded this stuff is. Like, there's really no pressure and it just snaps. Like, it just turns into plastic dust, essentially. Yeah, that's a perfect example right there. That was a sliver off this piece here and it just crumbles. So this is why I say replace it, because you don't want to do this shit over and over and over again. Of course, a lot of mechanics like having you come back 600 times for the same shit. But if you have your own car or you're a mechanic, don't be a dick. Just give the customer some service. Okay, now that being said, it is now time for us to line up exactly what we're doing here. So the reason why I leave this all together whenever I'm replacing a bunch of them is because you want to get it as close as possible. You don't want to get this stuff in the car and then try to figure out exactly what it is you need to do or how to align it. That is stupid. You know, I just realized these assholes didn't give me a goddamn clamp. Son of a bitch. Anyhow, whatever. So we're gonna stand this guy up. It looks like it's kind of like so, like a so. Okay, so we're gonna rip this guy off now. Hiya! Hiya! Fucking cocksucker. God damn it, man. I don't know why these clamps are like extra tight, you know? Get that guy out of there, give him my new clamp. Put that on the hose, get this asshole over here, you know? Now, you're gonna give yourself an aneurysm trying to put that in dry. What you wanna do is WD-40. WD, where are you? It's on my cart, son of a bitch. Put a little bit of WD-40, some oil. I'd be careful with oil though, because some oils tend to expand plastic, and yeah, that ends up in a bad way. Now, of course, the other good thing to recording the video is, well, with my short-term memory, I can just look back at the video in case I screw it up. Of course, let's force this guy together here, son of a bitch. Take it, take it. Oh yeah. God. It's really fucking tight, man. Oh God. Okay, yeah, so you can see here that is completely off. Let's rip this motherfucker apart, put some more juice in there. You get it on both sides, put it in the hole and on the shaft. With it on both sides, now try to force them together. That's much better, much better. Everyone's happy. Oh yeah, there we go. Now does that look correct? I would call that a yes. Now get this guy into place and let it out slowly. Do not let it spring onto it. This garbage is really powerful and can potentially give you a hairline crack. I've seen that happen before. It's not pleasant. Now we must move to our next hose. Same shitzel. Oh God damn it. Grabs that guy's ear and twisting. Oh yeah. Sprays the shaft and then the hole. You must be generous in the hole. Yes. And now make them as one. Oh yes, look at it. Is that success or what? And now, this kind of connector here, you do not want to attempt with the vice grip because it will slip off and it will destroy your fingers. And, well, nobody wants that. you get this overly expensive snap-on tool, which you can get from other companies for much cheaper. The snap-on one is just, well, it's a lifetime warranty thing, and they do make quality stuff. I will say Snap-on, I really like as a company. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's because I'm a mechanic. We like our Snap-on, you know? Is it worth it for like your do-it-yourselfer sort of dude? Not really, you know? It's just too expensive. Okay, on the shaft, in the hole, generous in the hole. Otherwise you can't get the shaft in because it likes to stick and whatnot. And line her up. Should be relatively straight. And then remember, slowly, with this guy here, you want to release it slowly. Make sure your finger is nowhere near. That is it. We are done with the hoses out here. Just to drive home the point here, inside there you can really see that sort of pinkish color, or that brown color. That is an indication that we now have calcified or dry coolant inside of this housing. Now if you just force on it like that, this one's not weak enough, so now it makes me look weak. If you just force on it like this, you know, now the chances of this guy here actually breaking on the car, highly unlikely, but it will continue to leak. And what will happen is eventually it will get to the point where it'll break off. Before it gets to that point, you usually have these little nipples break off here. Now to drive home the point, this one looks fairly decent, and you can see there, I'm putting quite a bit of force and I can't break it. So really, you need to make sure you replace all of this garbage at the same time, because you don't want to end up finding out the hard way that, you know, the coolant section down the road is just garbage. Now, we're going to go ahead. We're going to clean all the crap off of this guy here. I'll show you what it should look like. And then we will take this and put it into there with some nice silicone to ensure that we do not have a problem in the future. That is the best German accent that I have. More Austrian than German, because the German is like, will do this and put it back into the car and make sure that it operates properly. Yeah. I think that's more German, because they're just aggressive. I don't know. Whatever. If you're German and watching this, don't take offense. I mean, you no harm. Just peace and fun and jokes, my friend. All right, let me go deal with this stuff. Stop making an ass out of myself. Now, if you're in a situation where you have to reuse your sensor like I am, you're just going to take a wire brush or wheel and simply make it brand new again. You can see there we've got all of our dirt off. What we need to do now is, of course, get the dirt off of this. Unfortunately, I can't get a new one, which I would highly advise that you do not reuse a part that you can get brand new. Now, if you are in a situation like we are, where the customer needs this car and, well, I don't want to hold on to this thing, silicone, my friend, specifically this stuff, the right stuff, is the best stuff. It makes your life quite a bit easier. It has never let me down. And yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, right stuff. What you're going to do is take the right stuff. You're going to apply a little bit to it. You don't want to be overly generous. It's not something you need to be ridiculously generous with. Just enough to make sure that the O-ring has enough on the part to make a generous seal. Okay? Now what you're going to do with a nice little layer, that's probably like a 1/16, like half a millimeter sort of layer. After you get all the crap and crud cleaned off of that O-ring, you're gonna put this guy into place and just spin her around and around like so to make sure that it is spreading all over the place. Then you will put a nice helping of the same size on the outside of the O-ring. Before you apply to the O-ring, inspect to make sure that there is no dirt, crud, or crap that will hinder you shoving this thing into the hole and will cause you to have a leak. This is not something that is against the law, so to speak. So if you're thinking of seeing something stupid in the comments, keep it to yourself. No one cares. Take this guy here and slide it into place. Of course, remember, this is towards the back. Our connector was towards the back, so you're going to slide it in gently, like I show. Wiggle it into place. Make sure that your connector is going to be in basically the same position as it was originally. Don't forget to cap your right stuff, because this shit's gone up astronomically in price, and well, ain't nobody got time to go be buying a tube because you let it dry out. Then you want to go ahead and grab the clip that holds that piece into place and put it back into place. Let me go find it. Ah, come on, son of a bitch. You're gonna grab that guy, make sure there's no dust or crap on it. Same thing, if you've overheated your car, replace this because they turn into brittle sand. If you haven't overheated it, you're good to go. Just shove it back into place. There we go. Now, pull back up on the sensor because when you put the system on, what will happen is the pressure from the system will push the sensor out in this direction anyhow. And then if it unseats while the silicone is dry, you may end up with a leak, and nobody wants it to leak. Now, we're gonna be putting some silicone on this end here, so don't get rid of your silicone. Our next step is to go back over to the car, and we need to make the mating surface on the head nice and clean. So grab yourself some sandpaper, a scraper, and a wire wheel. Well, really anything that will make the job easy. The best way to go ahead and deal with this is usually a wire wheel. If you don't have a wire wheel or cup, and if you're confused as to what I'm talking about, it's this guy there. That is a 3-inch or 2.5-inch cup. Essentially, you're going to get a fine cup or something that is not a coarse bristle because you don't want to remove material. You just want to remove the foreign coolant substance that is there. A angle grinder is the way to go. Now, you can do this with sandpaper or really any material that will cause a clean surface. That's all you need to do. Of course, we're going to do this with a power tool because power tools are awesome. Also, they make my life easier. Whatever you do, do not be overly aggressive. All right, that is pretty much it. You get the idea. Now I got to stick my fat head in there to make sure I got everything off. And of course, I'm going to do that off camera because, well, shit, am I going to do it on camera? Now, there's not really enough room, but there is basically a bit of corrosion that has dug into the aluminum on the head. So if you're wondering why it is we replace our gasket with a brand new one and also add silicone, is because specifically of things like this. The surface is not 100% flat and there is no way to make it flat where it is. So solution, silicone. There are little valleys and gaps that are basically probably not even a thou or two thick. But they can be minuscule enough to be a pain in your ass. So my advice is, and you don't have to follow it, put some silicone on your flange. A nice healthy dose of silicone will make your life a lot better than you finding out that you have a consistent small leak because you didn't put any silicone and trusted just the gasket to take care of an issue that is not meant to take care of. Okay, silicone. All right, we are ready to slide this contraption in. Make sure you spray it generously inside here with our WD-40, otherwise it's going to be a pain in the ass to get on the other side. Making our way farther down the hose, you can see here a healthy dosage of our wonderful silicone. I had a bit of a misfire here, and it fired a little bit too much in one place, and well, when you fire too much, it can sometimes cause a problem. We just spread it around and you'll be fine. Now, make sure you also put it on the other side of the O-ring or just on the O-ring itself because, well, these parts are manufactured at a quality company, but people make mistakes and you don't want to end up with a mistaken part giving you a leak. Go ahead and slide this guy through. Make sure you clean up your bolts as well. And whatever you do, don't touch that silicone piece on anything. We want to make sure that the silicone is nice. Now put it down to sit there. These are the bolts here that I have cleaned up with a thread chaser. In case you're wondering, it is a M6 by 1 thread pitch. Get your socket and hex key ready. You can slide one through the hole. Trying to get my hand in a comfortable position without hitting anything. And then before you actually get the flange to hit the head, thread your bolt in. That's what I like to do. Okay, now hold it away. Be very gentle. Get the other one on. Slide it through the hole. Yes, we are making progress here. It's okay whether it hits the hole because you know it's going to be in the correct position. Slide it in, tighten it up. Oh, that's a really unfortunate shot because you can't see shit there. There we go. Get my big hand away and just snug it up. Now make sure the other side is nice and snug, and then you will go to your toolbox and get a torque wrench. You are going to set your torque wrench to 7.5 foot-pounds or 10 newton meters. Remember, take your time when torquing. It is a very low torque value and it will come up very quickly. Yes. Oh, yes. All right. Wonderful. We have done it, mate. Now you can take the connector and plug it back in. And you can see there, I did the correct thing by lining up the connector properly. Of course, make sure you pull it back and there we go. See, it's not that hard. Now let's get that hose because our camera is right here. So put that hose on, just like that. Take the vice grip and oh fuck, man, my thumb, son of a bitch, that hurts. Shove it in the hole, shove it. Oh yes, damn it, it's in the wrong fucking position. That's the problem. And I can't grab it with my right hand, which is my strong hand. I know what you're thinking. This really shouldn't be that hard. Well, the reason why it's that hard is because the camera's in the goddamn way. So I'm gonna go put the hose on and then I'll be back. You get the point. Put the hose on. All right, heater core hose, spray it with lots of WD-40 and line it up and just wiggle it on. It's a lot easier than it is to come off. Settle that guy into place. Make sure the clip is there. And then if you did what I did, just make sure you disconnect or reconnect any hoses that you might have disconnected in order to get to that place. I didn't put any WD, but make sure you do slide that guy on. If you don't have any WD and you're putting it on dry, which is definitely not suggested, remember fast is the best way, because if you stop, it tends to bind up as you're putting the hose on, which can really be a pain in the arse. And now our clamp is just being a little bit of a disrespectful little prick. There we go. Always try to get the clamps back in the same position on the holes. That way you know that the clamping force is being distributed as evenly as possible to where it is most comfortable, because the clamp does make indentations on the holes, and if you don't get them back in the same place, it can cause a bit of a leak. Grab your WD-40 and be generous. Make sure you spray all of the hoses. Slide it on just a little bit and clamp it and push it and then clamp it. Check it. If it rotates, it's fine, because we just put a nice honking amount of WD on it. Put the tip in. Just makes it a little bit easier, I find, to kind of handle the contraption, because you don't want to be struggling with this guy while you try to get it on and then have that clamp slip off and bust your hand. It's a real problem. Like, it can break fingers and really hurt you. Yeah, if you own a Volkswagen or, well, any car that really has those types of clamps, I definitely suggest getting one of these contraptions, because, well, yeah, you need them. Honestly, they really do make quite a bit of a difference. Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. Get the clamp on and slowly release it back into the place. There we go. Give it a shake, shake, shake. Make sure all is well. And that is it. We are good to go. Now all we got to do is turn this thing on, wait till it overheats and blows up, and then tell the customer he needs an engine, is what we would say if we were one of those big box stores. But we are going to bleed this thing now. So get prepared to close off your lower radiator hose, tighten it up. You know what, I should show you. It can be a bit awkward to do sometimes. So yeah, let's put it up and I'll show you how to do it. All right, now it's basically the complete opposite, but what a lot of people do is they just kind of wrench it on. You don't want to do that. You just want to wiggle this guy to make it slip in and out easily, and then just slowly turn it back into place. Once you hear that little click, you're good to go. A lot of people, when it's turned out, they'll just fucking wrench the hell out of these things, and that's how they break. Don't do that. Push it in, get it back and forth, let it flow a little freely, and then tighten her up. Of course, you're gonna have to inspect to make sure it's not leaking. If it is, replace if needed. There's a couple of drips out of there, no big deal. There's a little bit of a hollow area in there that has some fluids, so don't stress. Give it a couple days till all that shit burns off. All right, now, lastly, if you're filming like me, don't forget to put the stupid thing back into place. Simply just clips in. Remember, everything that is plastic is there to ruin your life because it wants to break. So whenever putting this stuff back on, be very, very gentle. All right. Now, it is time for us to go ahead and fill this thing up. If you're going to use coolant, make sure you get the good stuff. This here is by a German manufacturer. They basically make for the OE. It's Fuchs, which is amazing. I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced, because that's how the people who sell it to me pronounce it. But if you're German, please let me know in the comments below if I am pronouncing it correctly. Second thing is that this is a concentrate, so make sure you get some good quality water to mix it with. Distilled is optimal. Tap water is fine if that's all you have. That being said, begin filling this guy up here. What you're going to do is run the thing after, of course, to bleed it. I'll explain a bit of that process once I fill it up. what we've done now to this point is we have filled up the coolant reservoir and, well, the system itself, and we have squeezed the upper radiator hose a few times just to get the air out of the system. Now, in order to complete the process and bleed the vehicle, what we need to do is turn the temperature control valve on the climate control all the way to the hot side so that we know that hot coolant will start to flow through our heater matrix, because a lot of cars have a valve that block it off sometimes. With that, the best way to monitor the temperature of your vehicle is to hook up a scanner. With a scanner, you're going to look for the ECT, engine coolant temperature. All that is a live reading of what the actual temperature of your coolant is. You do not want it to exceed 100 degrees Celsius, or I think 212 degrees Fahrenheit, because it's too hot. Is that actually too hot? No, but when you have water that is at that temperature, the gas or vapor or steam that builds up in your engine, it is way too hot because it tends to be much hotter and can do a lot more damage. So do not run it hotter than that. Let it cool down if it does get to that point. If it does not, you are good to go. Make sure you feel some heat coming through, and of course, make sure this guy stays at this level. See that ring right around the middle part? You don't want it any lower than that, and you don't want it too much higher because it will spill out. Okay, that being said, make sure you do this in an open environment so you're not inhaling all kinds of carbon monoxide, and make sure you take your time with this. Do not rev the piss out of it trying to get it to come up to temperature quicker. It does take a while. As it comes up to temperature, you will inspect for any leaks. Of course, your cap is going to be off, so you're not going to be able to see if there's any leaks. If you choose to leave your cap on, you will have a pressurized system, and that will of course expose a leak much quicker, but I suggest bleeding it with the cap off so that the air bubbles escape easier. Okay, I'm gonna go do that off camera. Do the same. If you have any questions about that, you can leave a comment below and I will try my best to answer them. All right, I shall be back. All right, we have finally bled our engine. It has been a little bit of time for us because we had to make another repair on that positive cable actually over there. I should have maybe filmed that. That probably would have been a much shorter and easier video to explain instead of this one, which I thought was going to be a short video. Anyhow, what you want to do is make sure that this guy here is at the very least the minimum level, and no lower than this center ring here. Of course, you're going to have to check it when the vehicle is nice and cold the following morning. Make sure you top up as needed, if needed, and then when you run it again that same time after checking it, you're going to put the cap back on, run the car as normal, and inspect for any leaks. If you do have any leaks, of course, you're going to have to remedy those leaks. Now, if you had coolant like us flow onto the top of the transmission in that region over there, what you're going to do is simply wash it off. Not the most necessary thing to do, but a good practice to do. If you don't have a nice area to do it instead of your driveway, take it to your local shop and maybe they'll let you do it for free, or they'll charge you a small fair fee depending upon what shop it is. That being said, hopefully you have completed this job without any issues that tissues won't solve. If you do have any of those things that I just mentioned there, go ahead and message me in the comments below and I'll try my best to guide you through it. That being said, hopefully you found the video entertaining as well as helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Welcome back to the sweatshop. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2008 Volkswagen Golf City 2-liter automatic. That's too fucking winded. And yeah, give yourself some extra time. Fucking helicopter. Oh, damn it. Of course, the significance of that is that what this significance of course, the significance is of that is this is going to be hard. Of course, the significance of the color differential. Oh boy, just get a longer fucking screwdriver and shaft, Jimmy. I wish I could just point at things and be like, ting pow, ting pow, ting pow, do it. That's it, you know, fuck. There is our heater cord. Yeah, baha. La 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 la. Makes me want to pee. That sound fucking annoying, bitch. Oh, I hit record somehow. Whoopsies. Well, there you go. You can see how much of a pain in the ass it is to record videos for you guys at home sometimes. Is it worth it? Well, only if you at home find it to be worth it. So we will be implementing. English is supposed to be my first language, but when you hear some of my videos, you think it'd be a non-existent language. Anyhow, we are going to be replacing this with the well, we're not replacing it, for fuck's sakes. Get your 6mm, and once you realize that you were fucking wrong, go back and get a 5mm. Son of a bitch. I'm so stupid, Jimmy. Now the people think you're stupid. Don't worry, editing. I'm gonna put that shit in the bloopers. Piece of shit Volkswagen. I was like, what the fuck is that noise? It's the car. These are the silicone. Put your camera in a better position. Fucking torque wrench. What are cone filters good for? Holding your camera equipment. Take your vice gripping. Oh, fuck. There goes the fucking camera. Oh, motherfucker. This shit just broke, bitch. What the fuck, B? That is not cool. There's a lot of crazy camera action going on in this film today. Canopy. Canopy? Canopy. La 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 la. Calm the fuck down, camera. Stay one place, please. And monitor the now I'm self-conscious about saying fucking monitor, son of a bitch. And therefore we have enough coolant. I blanked. I don't know what the fuck I just said. You do not want it to shut up, hoist. In order to do that, we're going to need to turn the climate control all the way to the hot side of the climate temperature adjustment valve, so we can go ahead, and that just was a bunch of temperature adjustment valve. Fuck. Temperature control, man. Shit. You know, just a bunch of filler words. 3 minutes and 52 seconds around blah 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 blah. That's now 4 minutes. Bye bye now. Motherfucker. You want me to shut the door? No, I just want to get this done with. There comes that shitbox car. Carlos, your car sounds like a bullshit!